Today, we're going to be taking a look at the best red-themed inventory you can pick up right now in CS2. I'll be giving both budget and expensive options, so no matter what your price point, there will be an option in this video for you. All the pricing in this video is based on the Steam market. You can pick it up cheaper on third-party sites, which I will link below. Starting off with the Glock 18, the first budget option we have here is the Candy Apple. In field tested condition, this comes in at $1.09. You can't have a red themed inventory without a Candy Apple skin. This is definitely a great option for the price. The expensive choice you have for the Glock 18 is the Water Elemental. In factory new condition, this comes in at $36.45. For the price, I personally would be picking up the Candy Apple. I do think it's a cleaner option compared to this skin. Jumping over to the USPS, we have 4 different options here. The cheapest option is the check engine in field tested condition, coming in at only 37 cents. I'm not a huge fan of this skin as it does look extremely dirty. However, it is your cheapest option, so keep that in mind if you have a low budget. The next USPS on the list is the Bleeding Edge in field tested condition. This is one of the newest red skins added to CS2. It comes in at $9.55. It is pretty similar to the check engine. However, I personally am a bigger fan of this weapon compared to the previous skin. The next option we have for the USPS is the Trader in Battle Scarred condition. This comes in at $13.28. Even in Battle Scarred, it is extremely clean. It just looks a bit more dull. However, this is one of my favorite USPS skins in all of CS2. The final and most expensive option we have for the USPS is the Kill Confirmed. In minimal wear condition, this comes in at $125.43. This is a super OG and clean skin. Definitely pick this up if you do have a high budget. If you're a fan of the P2000 instead of the USPS, your budget option here is the Imperial. In field tested condition, this comes in at only 36 cents. It is a super clean option. However, in field tested, there is a bit of wear that you can see on the top of the weapon. The expensive choice we have for the P2000 is the Obsidian in factory new condition. This comes in at exactly $10. It is a super clean skin, so keep that in mind if you do have a higher budget. Jumping over to the 5.7, the budget option we have here is the Urban Hazard. In field tested condition, this comes in at $2.03. I'm a huge fan of the red slider on the top of this skin. It is pretty similar to the Candy Apple, which I think is a great option. The expensive choice we have for the 5.7 is the Berries and Cherries. In factory new condition, this comes in at $168.41. You can look for the more red patterns, however, it will be more expensive. The top red patterns are 182, 206, 522, 546, and 761. Moving over to the P250 and one of the cleanest red skins in all of CS2, the budget option we have here is the Muertos in field tested condition. This comes in at $7.70. Although it is still pretty expensive, this is definitely a must pick up for a red theme loadout. The expensive option we have for the P250 is the Crimson Kimono. In factory new condition, this comes in at $49.91. I personally think the Muertos looks a lot better, so even if you're on a higher budget, I definitely would pick up the cheap option for this weapon. Moving over to the Tech 9, we only have one option here. This is the Isaac in field tested condition, coming in at $4.01. It is the cheapest option, and it also is the only option I would recommend for a red Tech 9. Taking a look at the dual Berettas, the cheapest option you have here are the Panthers in field tested condition, coming at $1.51. I personally wish the red was on the top of the weapon compared to the black, however it is the cheapest option with red for this skin. If you do have a higher budget, the expensive choice for this weapon will be the Hemoglobin in factory new condition. This comes in at $49.91. I'm a huge fan of how much red is on this weapon. I personally would be picking this one up. Jumping over to the CZ75, once again we only have one option here. This is the Red Aster in field tested condition, coming in at only 49 cents. It is a great budget choice for this skin. Jumping over to the Desert Eagle, the budget option we have here is the Serpent Strike. In minimal wear condition, this comes in at $1.23. This is one of the newest red skins added to CS2, and it's a great choice to add it to the DEAGLE. The cheapest option before this was around $10, so it's definitely a great budget option. The next option we have for the Desert Eagle is the Crimson Web. In field tested condition, this comes in at $13.80. As you can see, it's extremely scratched up in field tested condition. That is why I think the Serpent Strike is a great budget option. The expensive option we have for the Desert Eagle is the Code Red in factory new condition. This comes in at $166.26. Out of all three options, if you have a higher budget, I definitely would recommend this. However, if you don't, I would stick to the Serpent Strike. This video was sponsored by Skins Monkey. Skins Monkey is the best CS2 trading site with thousands of skins to choose from. Simply select the skins you don't want from your inventory, select the skins you do want, and press trade. You can get up to $5 completely free on your first trade if you use code CLAUDE, as well as a 35% deposit bonus on your balance while using code CLAUDE. If you don't have any skins in CS2 but want a free chance every day, they are always running 3 giveaways that are completely free to enter. Make sure to check them out with the link in the description below, and thanks again Skins Monkey for sponsoring the video. Moving over to the SMGs, to start it off we have the MAC-10 Candy Apple. In field tested condition, this comes in at only 39 cents. You can't go wrong with an all red skin for the price. Moving over to the UMP45, the budget option we have here is the Full Stop. In field tested condition, this comes in at $2.13. It is a little scratched up in field tested, so try to look for one with a float closer to minimal wear at the same price. The expensive option we have for the UMP45, and one of the newer skins added to CS2, this is the Crimson Foil in minimal wear condition, coming in at $8.44. It does have a little bit of a fade pattern to it, however it is a red skin, so I did include it on the list. Jumping over to the MP9, the budget option we have here is the Ruby Poison Dart. In field tested condition, this comes in at $1.06. It is the cheapest red option, although it's not extremely red. The only other option is around $300, so that is why I included it for the budget. For the expensive option, we had to include the Hot Rod in factory new condition. This comes in at $345. However, if you have an extremely high budget, definitely pick up Hot Rods for a red theme loadout. Moving over to the P90, the budget option we have here is the Shallow Grave. In field tested condition, coming in at $3.73. The red isn't as vibrant on this skin compared to a lot of weapons on this list, however it is the budget option. The next option we have for the P90 is the Fallout Warning. In field tested condition, this comes in at $9.75. If you do have a few extra dollars, I personally would pick this up over the Shallow Grave, as it does have a lot more red. The final and most expensive choice for the P90 is the Cold Blooded. In factory new condition, this comes in at $69.21. Even in factory new, you can see there are some scratches. Keep that in mind if you're on a high budget, and look for an extremely low float. Moving over to the PPBIZON, we only have one option here. This is the Candy Apple in field tested condition, coming in at only 9 cents. You can't go wrong with this skin for under 10 cents, and it's super clean and red. Jumping over to the MP7, the budget option we have here is the Mischief in field tested condition. This comes in at 30 cents. It's not a super bright red, however there is a ton of red going throughout the weapon, and I do like how there is some red on the magazine. The expensive choice you have for the MP7 is the Bloodsport in factory new condition. This comes in at $13.01. There's a lot of other colors going on throughout this skin, however the red really stands out, and I did include it on the list. I will be giving away this Huntsman Knife Marble Fade in factory new condition when we hit 50,000 subscribers. All you need to do to enter this giveaway, subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment down below, and make sure your trade link or Steam ID are in the description of your YouTube channel. Moving over to the main primary weapons in CS2, starting it off with the FAMAS Survivor Z. In field tested condition, this comes in at 32 cents. There's a ton of red going throughout the weapon, and it is a great budget option. Taking a look at the M4A4, the budget option we have here is the Converter. In field tested condition, this comes in at 37 cents. It is extremely scratched up, however it is your cheapest option with some red. Another clean budget option we have for the M4A4 is the Evil Daimyo. In field tested condition, this comes in at $2.50. If you do have an extra couple dollars, I definitely would pick this up over the Converter. The final and most expensive option for the M4A4 is the Howl. In factory new condition, this comes in at over $9,000. I still am regretting it every day that I sold this back in 2016. Moving over to the M4A1S, the budget option we have here is the Night Terror. In minimal wear condition, this comes in at 94 cents. It's not the most red skin on this list, however there is a lot of writing in red, so I did include it. Once again, the expensive option we have for the M4A1S, this is the Hot Rod in factory new condition. This comes in at over $2,400, however it is extremely clean, and I personally would pick it up if I had the budget. Jumping over to the AK-47, the budget option we have here is the Orbit MK01. In field tested condition, this comes in at $28.48. Unfortunately, this is the cheapest AK-47, unless you pick up the slate and add 5 red stickers. The expensive choice we have for the AK-47 is the Bloodsport. In factory new condition, this comes in at $416.81. If you do have the budget, I definitely would pick this one up over the Mark I. Moving over to the Galil AR, the only option we have here is the Firefight in field tested condition, coming in at exactly 50 cents. For the SG553, the budget option you have here is the Fallout Warning in field tested condition, coming in at $1.75. The expensive option we have for the SG553 is the Candy Apple. In field tested condition, this comes in at $6.94. It is the most expensive Candy Apple option on this list, however it is still a great option. The expensive option we have for the AUG is the Radiation Hazard. In field tested condition, this comes in at $1.93. The expensive option for the AUG and the final hot rod on this list. In factory new condition, this comes in over $700, and once again, it does look extremely clean. Jumping over to the Scout, we only have one option here. This is the Redstone in field tested condition. This comes in at $8.48. The red doesn't stand out on this skin, however the entire weapon is red, so I did include it on the list. Moving over to the AWP, the budget option we have here is the Acheron in field tested condition. This comes in at only 48 cents. There's a ton of red splattered throughout this entire weapon, and it is a great budget option. The expensive option we have for the AWP is the Wildfire. In factory new condition, this comes in at $255.43. This is the AWP skin that I use in CS2, and it is extremely clean. Taking a look at some glove and knife combos for a red theme loadout, we have the Shadow Dagger Autotronics in field tested condition, coming in at $130.66. These are paired with the Bloodhound Gloves Charred in field tested condition, coming in at $202.57. The next gloves and knives you can pick up for a red theme loadout, we have the Falchion Knife Slaughter factory new condition, coming in at $376.76. You can also pick up the Specialist Gloves Crimson Web field tested condition, coming in at $364.32. The final gloves and knives I would recommend for a red theme loadout, we have the Navaja Doppler. This is the Ruby Phase in factory new condition, coming in at $539.19. You can pair this with the Moto Gloves Blood Pressure field tested condition, coming in at $249.30. Any of the knives that I did mention on this list, you can pick them up with the same finish on any of the different knives that are in CS2. To help you guys build your red theme loadout in CS2, I'll be giving away one USPS trader in battle scarred condition when this video hits 350 likes. All you need to do to enter the giveaway, drop a like on the video, comment down below your favorite color theme loadout, and make sure to join the Discord for more exclusive giveaways. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this red themed loadout video in CS2, and hopefully you got some new ideas for red skins to pick up. Let me know in the comments if I missed any other red skins that you would recommend, and if you enjoyed, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.